Today we're putting an Ultimax ATV belt on an Arctic Cat ATV. Ultimax belts are designed to be application specific, so make sure you check ultimaxbelts.com to get the right one for your ATV. The machine we're working on is an Arctic Cat 400, but the procedure is the same for every Arctic Cat ATV. To get to the belt, you'll need a Torx T30 wrench, an 8mm and 13mm socket, and a ratchet with an extension. Use caution around the engine and exhaust, which could be hot. Let the machine cool down before working on it. Please always follow all of the manufacturer safety recommendations, installation procedures, and specifications. Begin by setting the parking brake. To get to some of the clutch cover bolts, you'll need to loosen the footboard. First, remove the two rear screws with a T30 Torx wrench. Then, use a 13mm wrench or socket to remove the lower mounting bolts. The footboard can now be pushed down to access the bottom clutch cover bolts. Remove all the cover bolts. Note that there is a ground wire attached to one of the rear bolts. Once you get the cover off, you can see the CVT system. CVT stands for Continuously Variable Transmission. The driver or primary clutch is in front. It's bolted directly to the engine's crankshaft. There are flyweights and a spring to squeeze the belt and create upshift force. The primary is called RPM sensing because it changes shift force based solely on engine RPM. The belt transmits the power from the primary to the driven or secondary clutch. The secondary is called torque sensing because it creates backshift force based on the load from the tires. The clutches will shift until the force from the primary equals the shift force from the secondary. Since the only link between your engine and the gear case is the belt, it's important to have the right belt to get optimum performance. Now, expand the secondary by threading one of the 8mm bolts from the CVT cover into the secondary expansion hole. Then, remove the belt. Once the belt is off, take the opportunity to inspect a few things. First, check the old belt. If one side is noticeably more worn than the other, you could have an alignment issue with your clutches, which will tear up any belt you put on. You also want to look for cracks or signs of excessive heat. Next, inspect the clutches. Clean out any pieces of the old belt or any debris. If there is anything on the clutch faces, get those cleaned too. If there is any rubber on the clutch face from the old belt, you can use a Brillo or SOS pad. It's okay to scuff the clutch face, but you don't want deep scratches. Also, if there is a pronounced groove in the primary, it's time to replace it. You can use brake cleaner or a solvent, but be careful to let everything dry so it doesn't get on the belt. Solvents break down the rubber compound. Never use a belt dressing or solvent on a belt. Once everything is clean, you're ready to put the new belt on. Retract the expansion bolt from the secondary. Some belts have directional arrows. Belts aren't directional, so the way you put it on doesn't matter. The arrows are there so that if you ever take the belt off, you can put it back on in the same direction. This helps to ensure maximum belt life. Ultimax recommends that belts be installed so you can read the brand. Get into this habit to make sure that your belt is always running in the same direction. Spin the secondary clutch until the belt is good and snug. Now reassemble the Arctic Cat. Make sure to reattach the ground wire to the belt cover. Once everything is back together, break in your Ultimax belt by keeping it below half throttle for the first 30 miles or so. This will allow the belt to seat properly so you can gain optimum performance and belt life. For more tips on belt installation, check out ultimaxbelts.com.